also works with the State Department. And how many of you remember, about a little over a year ago, Peter King held hearings about the radicalization of Muslims in America? Remember that? That was March of last year, right? Yes. Well, right after those hearings, 5 weeks later, Senator Richard Durbin held hearings on the civil rights, of Muslims in America. In his closing statement, Senator Durbin thanked the Islamic Society of North America for helping prepare their committee for the hearings, and I mentioned that before lunch. Look at these two guys, Saeed Said and Mohammed El-Sanusi. And after the hearing, there's Senator Durbin. Who's he shaking hands with right after the hearing ends?
Yeah.
Mohammed El-Sanusi. That's the director for ISNA. And there's Saeed Said right there. Right in the committee rooms. That's the President of the United States with the former President of ISNA, Ingrid Mattson, inside the White House at the iftar dinner. This is last iftar dinner, August 11 months ago. That is Mohammed Bashir, the President of the Islamic Society of North America. Now why is this important? Because this year, every year, when the White House has this event, they put all the attendees on their website. This year, they did not. They only put the diplomats, and his name was not on there. Neither were any of the other Muslim brothers that were invited to this and attended. But thank goodness we have photographers, and there he is, sitting right there near the President. That is the President of the largest Muslim Brotherhood front that federal prosecutors and the judge and the appellate judges determined were Hamas support entities. Well, let's keep it real here.
Yep.
This is after 9/11. Inside Washington, D.C., that's the President of the United States with Nihad Awad of Hamas on his left shoulder, and the deputy to Abdurrahman al-Amoudi, the Al-Qaeda guy, on his right shoulder. You've got Al-Qaeda and Hamas surrounding the President right after 9/11. This is influence. This is ugly. Because on 9/11, when we turn to these people for advice, it might explain some things, why we've gone down the road we did. Now I use this guy, you've probably not heard of him, but if you're in these circles, you know who this guy is. Very prominent. Imam Yahya Hindi, Muslim chaplain for Georgetown University, which is kind of funny because I thought Georgetown was a Catholic university. And the Muslim chaplain was the Muslim chaplain for Bethesda Naval Medical. And may still be affiliated there. But he also sits on the Fee Council of North America and held leadership positions at the Muslim American Society. So I know he's a Muslim brother. Well, how do you know he's on the Fee Council? Because I went to their website, and thank goodness, their website says the Fee Council began, or traces its origins back to the Religious Affairs Committee of the then Muslim Students Association. So number one, the Religious Affairs Committee evolved into the Fee Committee for the Islamic Society of North America. And then they broke away into their own entity in 1986. And there's his name, Yahya Hindi. Well, how much influence does he have? Well, there he is with the President of the United States. I mean, why is a guy like that even in the White House? And why is he not in prison? It's part of a conspiracy to overthrow the government, but I guess I gotta get right. Here he is with the Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright. There he is with the President of the United States. And there he is getting an award from the FBI director for being a good citizen.
Oh boy.
This is catastrophic failure, folks. Catastrophic. Yes, sir.
The Fee Council, can you explain, is it the legal shari'ah compliance entity of the Muslim Brotherhood? What is that actually, the Fee Council?
Okay, that's a good question. His question is, what is the Fee Council? The Fee means jurisprudence, and the Fee Council ensures that everything the Brotherhood does is in accordance with Islamic Sharia. So they rule on matters of law, and that is really important for what obviously the Brotherhood is doing. It's their whole focus. Now, I want to give you, let's talk about DHS for a minute. This is Kareem Shura, Senior Policy Advisor to DHS. And so the question is, well, let's just say we don't know anything about Kareem Shura. Let's look at who, since he's the Senior Policy Advisor for the Secretary, who does he encourage the Secretary to meet with from the Muslim community? Well, Judicial Watch did a series of FOIA, Freedom of Information Act requests, and we got internal DHS memorandums. So let's see who he recommends the Secretary meet with. This guy, Muslim American Society, Congressional Muslim Staff Association, Muslim American Society, American Muslim Council, which was founded by Abdurrahman al-Amoudi, the Al-Qaeda guy. Kifa Mustafa is his actual name, who is the leader of Hamas in Chicago, unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation trial, and has publicly said he's Hamas, so that's nice for us. Another guy from his mosque, Muslim American Society. How about Muslim Public Affairs Council? But other than that, we don't have any Muslim Brotherhood representatives there. And this is catastrophic, folks, because these people actually, with the exception of Kifa Mustafa, ended up having a series of meetings and continued with the Secretary Napolitano. Yes, sir?
This was right at the lead up to the creation of the Countering Violent Extremism Committee.
Now you're starting to just take my thunder. Yes, these meetings resulted in DHS creating the Countering Violent Extremism Working Group. And who do you think was driving that group? The Muslim Brotherhood. And we're going to look at some of that in a moment. How many of you have seen this?
Unfortunately.
Now you may just say, this is just a, it's kind of people wanting to be huggy and all that, but this is not. This is an information operation by the bad guys. John, how can you say that? Well, let me start with a story. A couple of years ago, we were in England at a conference, and it just so happened that some senior Muslim Brotherhood folks from the UK, the most senior Muslim Brotherhood guys, were speaking at this conference. And one of them, who was an imam from Al-Azhar University in Cairo, Egypt, the most prestigious school of Islamic jurisprudence in the world. He's standing there, good-looking guy, well-dressed, tight beard, and he says, we are not here in the UK to assimilate. We are here to coexist until Sharia becomes the law of the land. Now, I am not just putting that bumper sticker together with the Muslim Brotherhood based on that. Because this sticker was produced by International Answer, a left-wing organization, Act Now, Stop War and Racism. It's a George Soros-funded organization, hostile. Well, can anyone see that date? September 14th, 2001. Answer created a steering committee with radical left-wing groups from around the world and the Muslim Students Association national headquarters. Out of this comes this. Coexist. You live in your constitutional realm, we're going to live in our communities under Sharia. We're going to coexist, we're not going to assimilate. Huge difference. Just FYI when you see those out here. Let's go back to our friend Mohammed Majid. He's the director of the Adams Center in Sterling, Virginia. All Dulles, the Adams Center, all Dulles area Muslim Society. Thank you. Sound a little brain freeze. Well, if you go to their website, they tell you that they are an affiliate of ISNA. Now, I could go through all the other evidence that Adams was founded by Muslim Brothers in Virginia and all that, but that would bore you, so we just take it right from their website. So we know Muslim Brotherhood. But of course, Mohammed Majid is the director of Adams, and he's also who? He's also the president of ISNA, the largest Muslim Brotherhood front. Again, you know what we call that?
A clue.
It's a clue. That's right. You guys are starting to get it. All right. Why am I bringing up Adams Center? Because a year ago, the Deputy National Security Advisor to the President of the United States went and spoke at the Adams Center. Now, this is important. I want to play for you about a minute. That's about all I can take of this, so I apologize that I'm not more patient. But I want you to listen to this. Now, here's what we got here. We have the Deputy National Security Advisor to the President of the United States speaking in a Muslim Brotherhood entity, praising Mohammed Majid, the President of ISNA. In the crowd is one of the Assistant Directors of the FBI and other national security, high-level national security folks. And I would just like you to listen to this, and then we're going to we'll talk about it in one moment. Sorry.
Rezwan, Stephen, Marshall, Jim McJunkin, nice to see you. Imam Majid, thank you very much for those very kind introductions and a very warm welcome. I know, Imam, that President Obama was very grateful that you led the prayer at the White House for last summer's iftar dinner. A dinner which, as the President noted at the time, is a tradition that goes all the way back more than 2 centuries to when Thomas Jefferson hosted the first iftar at the White House.
What?
Thank you also for being one of our nation's leading voices for the values that make America so strong, especially religious freedom and tolerance. Whether it's here at Adams or as President of the Islamic Society of North America, you've spoken with passion and eloquence, not only about your own Islamic faith, but for the need to build bridges, as you've demonstrated here, of understanding and trust between faiths. That's evident here today in the presence of so many different faiths. Muslims, Christians, Jews, Baha'i. The fact that we can come together in a spirit of respect and fellowship speaks to the bonds that we share as people of faith and as Americans. That's why on a very personal...
Okay. That's about all we can take of that. So let's go ahead and shut that down and come back to this. Now, I'd like to first address something. He said several things, and I think we need to address all of them. First, did he acknowledge that Mohammed Majid is the president of ISNA?
Yep.
So that's a fact. Did he acknowledge that he's the president of Adams? So he knew that the same guy is the president of these 2 entities. Did he publicly, in his official capacity, commend this guy?
Yes.
Yep.
Publicly. Okay. So, if you were to ask him, did you know that he is the president of a Hamas support entity, and Hamas is a designated terrorist organization? I don't know what he would say. But here's what I will say is, as the Deputy National Security Advisor to the President of the United States, you don't get to say, I don't know, to that. You don't get to say, oh, I didn't know that. Then we get to say, well, then we only have 2 options. One, you're incompetent, and you should be fired. Or 2, if you did know this and you didn't do anything, that's criminal, and you should be,
That's right.
I don't know, put in jail.
That's right.
How about that?
That's treason. Which prison treason?
You can call it a lot of things. It certainly is a lot of things. But it's certainly not right, and there is a legal responsibility that he has that he's not fulfilling. Fair? Now, he also said something else that I have to address, and I can't let this go. He mentioned that Thomas Jefferson hosted the first iftar dinner at the White House. That is a lie.
Absolutely.
Not true, and again, for those of you who are a little sensitive, it's a fib. Okay? And again, when you're speaking in your official capacity, you don't get to say something like that and not know, I don't think, something of that magnitude. Why? Well, first of all, how many of you are aware of Thomas Jefferson's knowledge of Islam? Some of you, a few of you? Now, how did he come about this? Well, because he and a guy named John Adams, maybe you've heard of him, they were ambassadors to France and England, respectively. And they had the opportunity, 1786, to meet with Hajj the emissary to the Islamic potentates of Tripoli. And they asked him, why is it that you are seizing our ships and kidnapping American citizens?